I'm trying to park in areas that are, have shade, right? How you doing out there? How are you? It's good to see you. 175 today. 175. It's good to see you. How are you? How are you? Talking about fasting today, right? Something that is near and dear to me, something that has worked for me, something that I have like I wouldn't say mastered. It works for as long as you do it. It's free. Anyone can do it. It's free. Our ancestors have been doing it for thousands of years, right? The body is smart, right? The body We would not be alive today if our bodies, didn't know what they were doing, right? Periods of time of famines, right? Survival, hunting, right? Not finding food. Mando, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. First one to show up. I knew you would. I knew you would. How you doing out there? I had to position my tripod in the passenger seat, and then I had to lower it because I'm not trying to have my phone burn up, right? Because it shut down on me yesterday. So it's good to see you guys. It's good to see you. I wanted to get started a little early, right? And I wanted to talk to you about my fasting journey, right? Certain individuals, I won't mention any names to protect privacy and that sort of thing, but are interested in fasting and stuff, right? So yeah, Mando, it's good to see you. Yeah, yes, right. 175 today. I brought notes. I started writing them yesterday. My wife was reading, right, in the bed, right, and I was writing up some notes, and then I finalized some notes today. So I'm trying to stay organized, not trying to waste your time, trying to get better at my craft, do what I can here. Thank you for joining me, right? If you are curious about fasting, have a friend that fasts, maybe it's part of the culture, that sort of thing, right? I'm going to be covering in terms of how I came about it, all right? And then we're going to oh, that's awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Um but yeah, if there's any ways to improve, right? Like let me know. Let me know. I'm not trying to waste your guys' time, and I got started a little early. So local coffee, right? Local coffee loyalty program. 10th one's free. I'm on 6. But yeah, if you're curious about the leanness, right? If you're curious about the healthy skin, right? The eyes that are clear, right? No inflammation of the face, right? It's all about fasting, right? All about fasting. I will tell you though, I'm not like recommending fasting, right? There's specific conditions that have to be met, right? Ladies out there who are pregnant or going to be pregnant, trying to get pregnant, people with low blood pressure, um, right? People who have kidney issues or heart conditions and stuff like that, right? On medications. If you're at all curious about fasting and you have some of these conditions that I have mentioned, I would probably turn to your physician, right? Your trusted physician, and see what they say about that, right? Um, but yeah, this is my journey, so it's good to see you. Yo, what's going on, Mr. Italian Anti-G? Yeah, that was funny, right? Yeah, I wanted to talk a bit about fasting and how it's working for you, right? And anyone can do it as long as, like for the majority of people in the population, right? At least in North America, we have like a 45 to 50% obesity epidemic, right? We're eating a lot more, but it's not real food. We're consuming our calories by like big drinks, right? With like 2,000 calorie, coffees and stuff. Just get a regular coffee, right? A black coffee, right? And don't add any cream to it. It breaks the fast, right? But the fasting, anyone can do it, right? Anyone can do it. And it's free, right? You can start at any time you want to, right? When you wake up in the morning, boom, great opportunity to start, right? You're not hungry, you don't need to eat. There's 3 different types of hunger. Did you know that? There's 3 different types of hunger. Maybe you fall in one of these categories, but there's conditioned hunger, right? There's hedonic hunger, and there is homeostatic hunger, right? They're specifically scientific for a reason. I do recommend Dr. Jason Fung fasting method. He's like a lead researcher. He's written multiple books. One of them which I have, right? The hunger code. I have the obesity code. He also wrote the diabetes code, right? And he goes through this stuff. So when you understand how your body is feeling, right? Knowledge is key. Knowledge is power, right? And so it's okay to say no. No, thank you. I'm fasting, right? And to lay out expectations with the family and stuff like that, right? Other cultures do it. It's a good thing. I do it. I'm fasting right now. That's the only way I'm able to stay like lightning quick and not really mess up on my words all that much, right? Because I'm burning ketones, right? I'm producing ketogenic bodies, right? And that's what happens when you lower that insulin, right? When you insulin. So what is fasting, right? And how do I go about that, right? Fasting is basically a period of time that you're not consuming food or liquids that's going to create a metabolic response. What does that mean? Well, it's we're not trying to raise blood sugar levels, right? We're not trying to raise insulin levels and stuff, right? So foods and stuff like that, right? There is a glycemic index and there's an insulin index, right? You got which one of them is talking about the I wrote it down here specifically, right? So the blood sugar levels, right? So glycemic index of foods, I check on this, right? And once you develop that food, right? Eating around the same time, right? Eating whole foods. I'm not one that eats any processed foods, not on purpose, right? Maybe something along the lines like if my wife is making something, right? But my window is 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. and then I stop, right? So if you're curious about my cycles, right? I wrote that down and this is what I do. This is what works for me, right? So I do typical like 18 to 20 hour fasts. My fasting window starts at 8 p.m., right? And I really like starting the night before because you're going to bed in a few hours anyway, right? And then I sleep, right? For like 8 hours, I hope. That's the plan because I don't go bed like later than like 10:30, 11 at the latest, right? Sleeping like at your job's important, right? Sleep is key. Sleep is everything, right? It starts that journey, right, in a positive way. So I wake up in the morning fasted, um, and then I'll have like typically I have electrolytes, right, to kind of wake my system up a little bit, but I'm not raising insulin, right? I'm having sodium, potassium, magnesium, some calcium, right? Some electrolytes, right? So no to Gatorades or any of that stuff. That's just added sugar, right? And products that the body doesn't really need. And that does ruin your fast. Liquids break fast too, just like foods do. So, hey, it's good to see you. Yeah, it's good to see you, Say 20. I believe you're new here. I'm trying to check in with chat too, right? I'm trying to stay ahead of my phone dying, turning off in emergencies because it overheats, right? Apparently that happens. So I had to find some shade. I'm back in the parking lot that started it all, basically, with my live streams. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, enable notifications, right? I'm talking about my fasting journey. I'm 175 today, right? I do weigh myself on purpose every day. It's my accountability partner, right? It keeps me accountable. and I fluctuate between like just a few numbers, and that's okay, right? That's all right. Um, and then I will so like my cycle, right? For fasting. And then I'll have black coffee, right? And I like black coffee because really what it is it's like a resistance to hunger. I get hungry, right? You get hungry. There's actually 7 hormones responsible for hunger. Did you know that? That's crazy, right? And yes, I'm going to go over them, right? And let's see if I got them by memory now. Okay? There's ghrelin, there's leptin, there's insulin, there's cholecystokinin, CCK. There is glucagon like peptide 1 or GLP-1, which I'm sure that you've heard about, right? That's the full long-winded version. 80s on the Oh yeah, there's nothing worse than sweating when you're doing your business in the morning, right? No, that's no good. That's very uncomfortable, right? Um, there's cortisol and that sort of thing, right? Which elevates naturally in the morning anyway. So I don't eat. I like to say I win the morning by not eating anything. The earliest is 12 o'clock in the afternoon, but I go a little longer because I work 5 days a week and it does work for my schedule. Um, I don't eat in the break room anymore. I'm walking. I'm not sitting down, right? If I'm scrolling on my phone, I'm walking while scrolling on my phone, trying to maximize my time management, my time management skills. Um, and that's what I'm doing. And then I usually would break my fast. I'll have like a protein drink, right? To kind of wake my system up, maybe 2, so like 60 grams of protein. Um, and then I'll add some Greek yogurt to that, right? No sugar, no added sugar. I get the plain, boring kind, and then I add my own berries to it, right? Typically, I get the Greek yogurt, the plain Greek yogurt. I always check the protein to sugar ratios, right? If you guys want me to go through a label and how to read that, I can do that. If you guys want me to go to a grocery store and teach you the strategies to avoid bad decision making, right? From actually eating before you go into a place, let me know. I thought about doing that. I taught that actually for a living. I would go to clients' actual grocery stores and do that for them, right? And I would go to their homes, right? Of course, that they would have to invite me, of course, and then I would go through that with them. And I would pull stuff out of the cupboards and the refrigerator, right? And I would teach them, right, how to read this stuff, you know. Um, and that's important. Um, but to go back to the routine that I have, the consistency, and I pretty much eat the same foods every day, right? And so I won't eat until 4 p.m., right? So I'm fasting 18 to 20 hours a day. There's 7 days a week. I allow myself about 4 to 6 hours of eating in a window, which I would break up, right? If you're new to fasting and you're thinking about trying it, I recommend like, the 12 right? 16 eights, 18 sixes, 20 fours, and then the 24 ones, right? And you just basically shrink your window from wide to narrow to narrowest, right? And then you have a large meal, and then you allow yourself to start it again all the next day. So yeah, that's yeah. So that's it. So yeah, that's what I do. That's my plan. That's my strategy. I've done this before. That I stopped. Right, it works for as long as you take it seriously for. Um, it saves money, right? Like it saves money. It saves time, right? That whole thing on like, what do you want to eat? Where do you want to go to eat? Like eat, eat, eat. And I'm not going out to restaurants all that much. Probably not at all. Um, like if you're going to have fish at a restaurant, you don't really know how it's prepared. They can be using oils and stuff, right? All this added extra stuff that you don't really need. And if you're wondering about the foods that are actually the best for you, right? You know, like wild salmon's great, protein, right? It lowers the sugar content. It satiates you. It provides satiety, which basically is I'm full, I don't want to eat, right? Um, and then avocados, right? Which I have. I like to like a great simple meal is like 6 to 7 eggs, cage-free, farm-fresh eggs is fine. Um, Add that to an avocado, right? Add a little Himalayan salt to it. It's always fantastic to eat, especially because you deplete some of your electrolytes, so you're going to get that back by pink salt, which is fantastic. It's like the best salt. Sea salts next, and the table salts last. So add a little bit of that, sprinkle on there. You got 1/3 of your electrolytes in the process. So, and then I add a tomato, right? Like a big tomato, you know, from like one of those boxes that you would get, or you would go out and pick it, right, in your garden, and you slice that up, and that's a beautiful meal, right? All about keeping those insulin levels low, right? That hormone that's like, hey, you'll burn fat or you won't burn fat, and that's it, right? And then your body will get used to it. You'll get metabolically adapted. You'll be able to switch between glycogen, glucose from, ketogenic bodies, ketones, right? And so that's generally what my brain's burning on, right? Most of the day. You feel alert, you feel awake, you don't have morning fog anymore. Your skin clears up, right? It's like natural Botox. There's no surgeries necessary. If you have extra weight on you, right? If you've got extra skin, right? And you're fasting for longer than 24 hours, that stuff starts to shrink inward. Your body will dissolve that over time, right? Lipolysis, breakdown of lipids, which is basically fat burning, right? Which happens after 14 hours, 12 to 14 hours. You start burning through all that, right? You start burning through all that. So I wouldn't eat first thing in the morning, right? If you're not hungry, or you can wait a little bit later. Win the morning by eating no earlier than 12, and see how you feel about that, right? As long as you don't have those conditions that I was mentioning earlier. Yeah. And so that's that. See, what else do I have to cover? I have notes, right? I got notes, right? So like, subscribe, leave a comment, enable notifications. I love talking about this stuff. Any questions that you have about fasting, that I can answer, that I've done, let me know, right? I'm not a doctor or anything. I'm not a lead board's physician, and that this is just something that has worked for me. So yeah, that's it was brought to my attention that fasting was necessary to talk about, right? So that's something that I've touched upon. So yeah, it's free. It's absolutely free. Anyone can do it. No money, no hidden fees, no nothing. You can do it whenever you want to, right? Great accessory, goes with anything you wear. You don't have to worry about that. It saves time, it saves money. You develop a new relationship with your body in terms of food, right? Especially if you're not eating the processed foods, right? Because people are fat, sick, and starving all the time, right? And they're eating a lot, but they're not actually eating food, like actual human food. It's from a label or a package, has an ingredients list, right? So if you start minimizing that and you start cutting it back, that's what you need. That's what it's about, right? You want to tap into to cellular repair, right? And the longer you fast for, the more benefits you get. Of course, things are going to change depending on when you're going to introduce food, right? So I'd start with the 12s and then the 16s, 18s, 20s, and then the 24s, and then see how you feel, right? Have that conversation. Have a relationship with the food, right? I'm finding time at the cutting board, right? Chopping, eating the same foods, right? It's rewarding, right? It feels good. It just feels right. So, we've kind of gotten out of a touch and lost the relationship with food, right? And I do encourage you, like when you're eating with your loved ones and stuff, turn off the phone, right? Take your phone, turn it off, flip it upside down, maybe push it away from you, put it in another room, make it inconvenient for you to grab it, right? Put it in another room, put it in your bedroom or whatever, and then sit at the table and actually have a conversation. And if you're sitting there by yourself and you're eating, that's okay, right? That's all right. You can do that. But enjoy your meal, right? A lot of us are just eating and eating and eating, but we're not really thinking about what we're eating and how it tastes, and we've lost touch. So I recommend that, right? And food's gonna taste so much better, right? Things that you didn't think you liked before taste so much better, right? Your relationship, your taste buds, right? The conversation that you have with your body, also, right? It's key. All these things, right? All these things. Um, so I've done it. I do it. I'm doing it now. I do it every day, right? On my days off, I don't eat until 12 o'clock, and then I have a window, but from so it's 16 hours, and then from noon to 8 p.m. is my window, right? And I'll space those meals out, and I'm eating the same stuff, right? Greek, like protein, right? Like beef, chicken, eggs, right? Um, some fish, right? Eating whole foods and stuff, right? Whole foods is what I'm eating. We should talk about what could improve our health with good bout. Yeah, so like it's people do have issues, right? They do recommend not being on your phone when you're sitting on the toilet, because you're on the toilet for long periods of time, and your legs will fall asleep, right? You probably don't want to do that, right? It's probably a good thing to keep your phone in another room, right? And then kind of minimize time, because chances are you're done. You don't even know that you're done. I wouldn't sit on logs and stuff like that, right? Because that gets the hemorrhoids and stuff. But if you're fasting and you're eating actual food that doesn't have come in a package, have a label on it, right? Come in a box of any form, your body is going to allow itself to heal itself, right? Which is autophagy, right? Autophagy is something the body finally will tap into when you've gone more than like 16 to 18 hours of fasting, right? Benefits truly start happening even after 24 hours. So, and you want to work into the extended fasts and stuff, because it's going to take a little bit more out of you, right? So you're going to want to have a plan for that, for the extended fast, and that's for later. Those for like the veterans and stuff who are very comfortable with fasting. But yeah, you're going to want to eat actual like foods, right? It's going to decrease inflammation. Your body's able to heal itself. But the autophagy, right? Fancy word, but it's basically like the breakdown of damaged, unused cells through the body, right? Mitochondria, which is the cell, the organelle, or the tinier cell in the cell where you get energy from, will be replaced. Will grow new mitochondria in the cell, which means that you're going to have more energy, right? Which means you're going to be able to do the things that you enjoy to do, right? You're not going to be slowed down. You're going to age gracefully, naturally. That's how this face, I'm 44 years old. There's a lot of people that are 34 years old that looks 54 years old, right? So it's a relationship with your food, right? We are a manifestation of our habits. The things that we do, we show the world our habits by how we look, you know? So there you go. There it is. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you're having hamburgers and that sort of thing, right? You can swap out the buns for tomatoes, right? Like the bigger tomatoes that you would cut and put on a sandwich, you can use that, right? You don't even have to have a bun. You could use like if I use bread, I've transitioned from like whole wheat bread to like cracked wheat bread. like sourdough bread, because it's lower in the index for insulin. So we want foods that are there's like it's like a rated on 100 scale, but I recommend that, right? Get familiar with the insulin and glycemic index. They have foods on there, right? It's kind of a Consumer Reports for foods, right? And there's it's like less than 55 is really good for you. It's green. Greater than 55, like 65 is medium, which is like yellow. And then finally there's like over a certain, like 70 something, where it's dangerous, right? So you're going to want to minimize to eliminating that, right? So, yeah, I'm kind of eating the same foods, right? I'm having that Greek yogurt. I'm having the protein. I'm having like if you have to snack or whatever, right? I recommend like the whole shelled unsalted peanuts. Those are the ones that I eat. That's actually also lower on that index, right? And kind of switch off, right? If you're getting drinks that are sugary, right? Kind of dial it back, right? Dial it back. Get a smaller one if you have to, right? That's a win. If you got to get a sugary drink at like a coffee shop, park farther away, walk into the place. Don't go to the drive-through, right? Because you're sitting there and you're getting a drink given to you, right? And then you know what I mean? You're sitting in your car, you go to work, you're sitting at the office, you get out of the office, you sit in the break room. You're sitting, right? Get a walk in, take the stairs, right? If I'm going in a parking garage, I'll park at the very top and I'll use the stairs, right? And chances are I get to where I'm going faster. Hotels, right? If they have a stairwell, use it, right? All this stuff, all these are like great habits to develop, right? And to kind of get you to think about your day, right? And I encourage you, look at that lifestyle of yours from 30,000 feet. Like you're on a plane and you look down and you're like, how do I tighten this up? How do I like make this better, right? And it's cumulative, right? One little habit, right? Just like when you skip a rock in the pond, right? And there's ripples, you can just drop one just a tiny bit, right? And then reactions happen, results happen. And I guarantee you, people are like, "What are you doing? What are you doing that is so different?" Diets and stuff, right? Temporary. Someone says they're on a diet, that means that they're going to get off a diet. It's not consistent. Find your why, right? Write down your why. Okay? That's very important. Why am I going to do this? What's the point? And it has to be your why, not someone else's, right? So take a pen, pencil, dry erase marker to a whiteboard or some notepad paper, right? And write it down. And then ask yourself that 5 more times. And then that 5th or 6th time, that's your why, right? Like for me, I want to be around when my kids grow up and they have kids. When I become a grandfather, I want to look like a dad still, right? I want to be able to keep up with my grandkids, you know? I want to be a pillar of good decision making and good foods and all of that, right? So that's why I started, right? So yeah, I was just reading comments there. So yeah, like, subscribe, leave a comment. We're talking about fasting. Um, start slow, right? This is something that I'm doing, right? Check with your doctor if you feel like there's something going on and you want to, but you're not sure if you should, right? Always better to consult a physician. And and there's and that's kind of it. That's all I have, really. I mean, besides the other benefits, right? Decreasing inflammation of the body, right? Right? You're not bloated, you're not super flushed, you don't like your face is puffy, right? It starts to decrease, right? Because processed foods will do that to your body, right? And you start dialing that back and you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed at the things that happen, right? Lipolysis, breakdown of fat, right? After 12 to 14 hours, you're going to start burning fat. The more you do it, You're going to develop metabolic flexibility, going from glucose for energy to ketones, right? You've heard of the ketogenic diet and keto, right? That's just a short form of it. Keeping carbohydrates to a minimum, increasing fats, increasing protein, right? Complex carbohydrates. And lastly, before I forget, like when you're looking at a plate, the food order matters too. All right. So if you have, let's say steak, a potato, and like some broccoli, right? Simple to work with. We all know about that, right? Eat the protein first, eat the fat second, like the avocado, right? Eat the steak first, avocado second, and then eat your carbohydrate last, right? Because then if you eat that carbohydrate last, your insulin levels, right, will not, like the rate in which it starts to spike, right? Your blood sugar levels rise. It won't rise as fast, and that's the end game right there. Keeping the sugars low, right? And then if you increase it just a little bit at a time, right? A little bit at a time, and so that food order matters. And then that's it, right? And then keep the added sugars away, keep the sweeteners away. I would get rid of that stuff. Make it inconvenient for you, right? Like make yourself have to work for it. Like if you got candy or whatever, right? Put it in the shed. Put it in a box. Put it underneath your bed, far away from farthest part of the house or apartment, wherever you are, right? Put it in your car if you're in an apartment, right? In the trunk. And then if you want it, you got to go out for it, right? You got to put something on, go out for it. So make it inconvenient. And that could work. That strategy, right? Hand basking over shopping baskets when you're going grocery shopping. You go to a Starbucks, you go inside the shop, right? Don't do the drive up delivery, right? Because you're sitting there. It's not about sitting, right? It's about movement. Quality of movement. That's what it's about. That's what we all want, right? We want to be able to move. We want to be able to transition into older age, right? Gracefully. So, yeah. And that's pretty much it. That's all I have to cover. Thank you so much, guys. Mando, Sublime, it's your boy Jordan. Who else do we have? Say 20. I believe you're new. Good to see you. All you guys are showing up in the chat. I appreciate you guys. I'm Loud Italian. You can reach me most days, 9:30 to 10 Pacific Standard Time, and 12:30 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. You can check out the other videos that I have. Thank you for joining me. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. I do my best to answer, right? I'm gonna reach out to you if you reach out to me, right? I'm gonna honor that. Thank you. And enable notifications, right? Enable notifications so that you don't miss that live stream video, right? And then if you want to see that stuff, and that closes my my discussion on fasting and what I've done. Now I just want to touch on something. All right. So, I got control. I'm trying to buy, I got some content with some gaming coming. And apparently they ran out of pre-orders. And like, I basically had to cancel the pre-order that I had at a place. And then I ordered, the same thing at somewhere else. And that's supposed to be out by Sunday. So Control Ultimate Edition, PS5, physical disc, of course. I want to start that up tomorrow. So and I want to check out some Pokemon ZA, right? And maybe do some builds with Lego, right? That's kind of towards the later in time. So be sure to look for that. So I'm kind of mixing it up. I'm pivoting, right? I want to keep it exciting. I want to keep it fresh, just like my fades. just like my clean shave. So, um, but yeah, that's all I have, right? So, cheers. Thank you. I'm Loud Italian, right? Reach me at YouTube/at Loud Italian. You send a comment to me. I'm going to reach out and send one back to you. We're all in this together. We is greater than me. And as always, it's not goodbye. It's see you later. Because goodbye is something you say to someone that you don't want to see again. So to you, I say see you later.